file today, which is really taking this piece of kind of junky looking stuff and turning it into something that looks really close to being finished in jewelry. So this is really the step where we get to see this rough cut piece start to turn into something that could potentially look really nice. So today's class is all about filing.
So let's talk about files. Files are what we use to clean up the edges of our metal. To make those edges so they're not sharp, so they're clean, so they don't have a bunch of little facets in them, and we're really going to be looking at cleaning up those edges. So the file that I use the most and I recommend my students to have is called the half round. And the reason this one is probably the one, if you had to only buy one file, I would recommend this one because this is the one you use a lot and it's pretty versatile. So it's got a flat side, and that flat side you can use to equalize with. And it's got, you can use it to equalize straight edges, straight sides, or even the outside of a contour edge like this. Now, when I want to reach the inside of my curves, I'm going to flip that around and I want to use the curved side of this file. So the other thing that's nice about this file is it's got a tapered end. So if I need to get into a little tiny space, I can. So the half round file is pretty handy, and I'll probably use it most of the time on the pieces that I have. Now, there are a lot of other files. There's some really large files that a lot of times we like to use these on bigger pieces. Maybe if I'm filing a piece that's going to be a cuff bracelet, or I've got a really large piece and I want to cover a lot of area, I'll use this for equalizing that area, which is just smoothing out the side edges, and I'll explain equalizing a little bit further here in a bit. But I'll use this for equalizing, though when I go to round and really refine the edges, I'll switch from this because the teeth on here are pretty big and I want a really fine tooth file when I'm rounding the edges and cleaning up the edges. So I've got those. They come in a variety of shapes. This is a half round and this is an equalizer or flat. We've got specialty files of all different shapes, this more pyramidal form. There's files that have handles, so many different types. I've even got some of these super teeny tiny ones for those tiny designs that you just can't get in with a regular file. So that is files. The other thing you're gonna need, so you'll need your half round or whatever file is gonna work for your particular piece. And then you're also going to need this tool here to help you hold on to your piece, especially when you're equalizing. We apply a lot of force to the metal, and this is called a ring clamp. It's got an opening on either side. So if I had a pretty flat piece, I could put my piece in this side. If I have a curvilinear piece, something like mine that's sort of curvy, I might place it in here, okay? And then the wedge goes into the other side. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off the paper. So I've still got my template on here and I just need to peel that off. I've got it on there pretty good. And I just need to get that paper out of my way. And then I kind of just rub off the glue. You could also take this to the sink and scrub it at this point and get the glue off that way and dry it off real good. So now I'm ready to start filing. So I'm going to place enough of it that it's sticking out of my ring clamp, but I've got a good grasp and I can still see the full edge. And then I'm going to place the wedge on the other side and I'm going to press it in securely. And there you go, I'm ready to file.
So here we go. The first step in filing is called equalizing. Equalizing is taking this side edge, the cut edge of the metal, and cleaning it up. So from the saw going back and forth and up and down, it's gonna leave little facets in the side of the metal. Now, the better you get at cutting, the less bumpiness you're gonna have, but even if you're really good at cutting, there's still gonna be some roughness there. And you're still gonna need to file that. So equalizing is just taking the edge of the blade, or the blade of the file, directly over, perpendicular over that side cut edge. So I don't want to be angling up or down. I want to be going straight perpendicular across the metal edge. And I'm just going to be cleaning it up and looking for one smooth, shiny surface. So now, as far as where you want to do this, you can do it on your bench pin. You can use this sort of V to hold your piece in place. You want to be supported somewhere. You don't want to just air file casually holding it. You really do need a place where you can really apply some force and push against. So it's good to support your ring clamp against the bench pin and be filing against the bench pin, or even against the table, or some place that you are able to push pretty forcefully over that metal, and you're not going to be moving your hand. That's the stability. So you're just, for equalizing, pushing across, and I like to push over and at an angle, not that my blade is moving up and down, my file is staying perpendicular to the metal, the cut edge, but I can move across it so I'm hitting from the front of my file to the back. I'm hitting a bigger surface than if I just went straight across. Now you can do that. You can absolutely just go straight across and move your way across the metal like that. There's nothing wrong with that. So for equalizing, you do make some loud, awful sounds. So this might be a good time if you are a screechy filer, if your metal is real screechy, to turn on your headphones and turn up the music. I'm gonna try. So here we go. I have to equalize all this edge. I've done a little bit of filing here, but here's how we go. I'm just gonna support my ring clamp against the table edge, and I'm going to push across the metal, looking for a really smooth, shiny edge. And if I need to reposition to get the other side. So I'm really using the light to see if I'm seeing a really smooth edge, and I'll kind of tilt my piece different directions to see if I find any facets or any lines that I need to go over and get some more. I can also look sort of at the profile edge, and if there were any bumps or any rough places that I wanted to smooth out, I can get those, work on those particular spots as well. Now I want to readjust, because I'm applying a lot of force. If I start to file out here, I might start bending my piece. So I want to go ahead and readjust and put my wedge back into my ring clamp, and then keep going. So I am pushing pretty hard, and I am just looking to see if I can see the real good, clear, shiny edge. And you'll notice I am creating some metal dust. That's why I always want to wash my hands when I'm done working. So the outside is pretty well equalized of that edge. And then I want to take care of these sharp corners. Even though I sort of cut them somewhat rounded, which you should never have sharp edges on your jewelry, you want people to be able to wear them. It is wearable art. And if people don't wear it, then it's just something that lays in a junk pile in a drawer somewhere. So we want to make sure it's comfortable, that it's not going to poke anyone, and it's going to be something. This will still read as a point or as a pointed form, but I want to dull it down a little, and I want to curve it out. So I already did that a little bit as I was cutting. I kind of went around, but I really do want to clean this up. So I'm going to take my equalizer flat over, or my flat side
flat over the top, and I see a good ridge here, and I'm just kind of giving it a flat top. And then as I get that top flattened off, I'm gonna kind of go around it this way, kind of back and forth and around, still perpendicular to my cut edge. And just trying to stay as perpendicular as possible, but trying to round off and clean up that corner. And there's that scraping noise. That's terrible for our ears, isn't it? So there we go. So now that edge is a little more even. It's a little more cleaned up. And it looks like it's not going to stab anyone. So there we go. So that's how you do the outside. Now, I do still have to do the other side of the outside, but I want to show you how I will get into the inside here. So working on that, I might go ahead and switch sides, and I want to be able to get into this long edge here. So I'm going to support that there, and that should be in there pretty good. And I want to work on the inside now. So I'm going to switch because I have a curved piece. I'm going to switch and not use the flat side anymore like I did on the outside. I'm going to switch and I'm going to use the curve. So I'm still maintaining that perpendicular action, that perpendicular movement as I push and rock across the piece. So I'm going to go ahead and push a little harder to equalize it. If I notice any spots that are uneven, I can hang out there for a little while longer. And I'm looking for the same thing when I equalize the inside. So I'm going to switch. There's a big bump right there I want to try to get out. I'm looking for an even profile. So when I look at it from this way, I want to see a nice curve. But then I'm also looking for that smooth shine all the way across. No lines, no facets, no bumps. And I'm also bending my piece a little bit out here. So that's telling me that I need to secure that before I work on that some more. So I'll just finish my equalizing here. If I have areas where it's just super small, you might only be able, and these are pretty big, but I might only be able to just equalize, or just to equalize with the very tip of this tool. That's fine if I can't go all the way across. You may just only be equalizing with little tiny strokes. So now I also need to take care of the point that is on the inside, the same way I did the other one. I want to make sure that I give this a flat top. I will tell you to be careful. Sometimes when you're going over the point with your finger and you slip off, you may scratch your finger there. So be really careful. That's pretty much it for equalizing. I'll continue to equalize the whole piece and make sure that I get my piece supported. You can see what happens when your piece starts to bend. You can take this to a steel block or an anvil and take a leather mallet and pound it back out flat again if that happens. But then I just need to make sure that when I'm equalizing that particular portion that I am completely supported there. So that is equalizing. The next step when I finish this is going to be rounding. So when I feel like I'm done equalizing, I like to look at it really closely and just notice after I think I've finished, take it out of the clamp and really examine the side edges and make sure I've got them really smooth. I'm going to make sure that I've got my points rounded out. Now, I know you can't feel this piece, and maybe it's hard to see it on the screen, but there is still a roughness to this piece. And what's happening is I have now filed down the side edge, which has left a bit of a ridge of metal where I've kind of filed it down. I can feel it snagging. I can feel the roughness on my fingers, and you can see how it snags my fingernails. What I want to do now is take that edge off, and that I'm going to call rounding. So I don't need to apply a lot of force for this, so I'm actually not going to use my ring clamp for this piece to hold on to it. I'm just going to hold it in my hands. I'm going to use the same half round file, and I really want to just get that little ridge off, and it's on both sides. So I'm going to just take my piece. I don't want to apply a lot of force, because if I do, I end up filing the edges into a sharp knife point. So I'm just going to go in and just gently go kind of up and over at an angle to take off that edge. And now I'll kind of change angles. I'll go a little bit this way, a little bit straight up, a little bit to the side, and then I'll feel to see if I've gotten that all off. So whereas I feel like the equalizing, I use my vision a lot. I'm looking to see if it's nice and smooth and shiny. I'm looking to see if in equalizing, if the sides are nice and smooth and parallel, and I like the profile. But really with rounding, I'm feeling more. I'm feeling to see if I've gotten all that rough stuff off of here. I have to admit, filing is, you know, it's one of my favorite parts of the process of making jewelry. And maybe not because, and people might think I'm crazy. I know there's people who hate filing and this is their like least favorite thing to do. But I think the reason I love it is because I instantly start to see the change between this just rough piece of what still kind of looks like a scrap that's just, you know, not important, and it starts to change into something that has care taken into it, that is starting to look like a piece of jewelry. It's starting to have nice edges. So I've got this side done. I'm gonna switch over. So once I get the outside done, and I'm thinking it feels really good, like a smooth river rock, you know, really just nice and smooth, and you know, you'd want to put it on your next to your skin. Then you know you've rounded sufficiently. Now this is just taking care of the side edges. We still have the whole surface of the metal also to take care of in the next step, which is sanding, but this is just filing. Now I want to show you how to equalize, or how to round the inside, because those edges are also sharp. So I've got one of my edges done on the outside. I'm going to go in and do the inside. Now, can I get a full stroke all the way in and, you know, up and over? Maybe not, but I can go in just at an angle gently, kind of at a 45-degree-ish angle, and I can feel that I'm getting that edge off. Now this is a fairly big open space. There are sometimes places where the file won't get in, or like you can only get just the very tip of the file, and that's okay. You can just use the very tip at an angle and you'll be able to see that that comes off. So I'll go ahead and finish filing this piece and show you what a finished piece looks like when it's filed. I did want to tell you that you can use the ring clamp on this. This piece is just a little bit borderline small. So you can use the ring clamp. You can have it stick out much further, and you can do your rounding holding on to the ring clamp. And again, I'm not pushing very hard, and I want to make sure, so I'm not applying a lot of force, so it's okay if the ring clamp is, you know, the piece is out further from the ring clamp, because I'm not in danger of bending this piece. I want to also try to be careful not to scratch the surface of the metal with my file, because then I create more work for myself later when I'm trying to clean the surface up. So do your best, try to keep from getting the file on the surface. So just make sure when you are doing the rounding stage that you are using a fine tooth file, not something with really big teeth, something that's like these big ones that are meant to really equalize a lot and eat a lot of the metal away, but you want to switch to something that has a finer tooth to it to just do the rounding.
So there you go. We have our finished filed piece, and we are ready for the next step, which is to sand the surface and take care of all the scratches and little marks in the surface. So it's pretty cool. It's starting to become something. Now it's not just a little scrap of metal. It's actually starting to look like it could be a piece of jewelry. So watch the next video and we'll take you through the next steps.